Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about fitness and getting the most out of our fitness. You know, with all the options and voices out there for getting fitter and helping us get fitter, I find it extremely confusing. And I think many patients find it extremely confusing. You know, what should I actually do? What can I do for my body in the time I have allowed it for exercise during the day? Because, you know, I'm not a professional athlete, and most of you are not professional athletes here or professional fitnessers. So there's only so much time in the day for us to, you know, get fitness in, because we got other things to do, other things we want to put our time to other than just, you know, working out all the time. Though that sounds kind of fun. So today I'm going to give you four intelligent things you can do to consider and implement to get the very most out of your fitness routine. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure you subscribe. Make sure you do not miss out on any opportunity to accumulate health. I mean, who would want to miss out on that opportunity, right? Also, if you like and share these videos, it creates more momentum for this channel and gives more people the opportunity to see the videos, accumulate more health themselves. And the more we enhance others' health, we give others life-giving information and inspiration, the more opportunity for our entire community to gain in health. All right, number one, prioritize time under tension. The more time your muscles spend under tension, the harder your muscles are having to work. And the harder your muscles having to work, the more they're breaking down and more adaptation has to occur to repair them. So this leads to more efficient muscle growth. This leads to increased muscle endurance. This leads to improved bone mineral density. And that's not even talking about your muscles, right? And of course, everyone's favorite, lower body fat percentage. Because the harder your muscles are working, the more calories you're burning, and the more hormonal benefits you're receiving. And that is where fat burning happens. So prioritizing time under tension basically takes the momentum out of a movement. And you know, if you're in a competition, you probably want momentum. But if we're just trying to get fit and get fit as efficiently as possible, then we want to get momentum out of the equation. So for example, when you're doing a squat, instead of going as fast as you can through 10 repetitions and then kind of bouncing out of the bottom and hanging out at the top for a long time, you would want to squat all the way down as deep as you can go, try to get your butt a couple inches off the floor to like a count of 3 or 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 as you go down. You hit the bottom and you don't rest at the bottom. You immediately stand back up, all the way back up till your hips and knees are locked out to about a count of 2. And then as soon as you hit that top, as soon as you hit full lockout, you immediately go back into the squat position again. And you continue this back and forth for say 10, 12 reps. Is you're forcing those muscles to continually stay in a working state. They don't get any rest. They don't get a rest at the top. They don't get a rest at the bottom. They're continually having to be working as you go through a slow 4-second down, 2-second up with 0 seconds at the top and the bottom. So it allows us to get a lot more fitness with a lot less overall weight being added. Because if you can do fast reps using momentum, you can use a lot more weight. But if you're doing slower reps and keeping the tension on the muscles the whole time, then it's hard to use a ton of weight. And yet you can still get big time results. And nobody wants to be injured and lose, say, 6 weeks of fitness momentum. This doesn't mean that every time you go work out, you have to do it, this time under tension thing. But I would highly suggest at least a couple times a week thinking, okay, am I going through, am I holding my muscles under tension? Am I moving my body, moving the weight, and keeping myself consistently, thinking about the movement I'm doing and not just, jumping around. Doing, purely an aerobic activity, you're actually forcing your muscles to adapt and forcing fitness growth to happen because the muscles are not used to always being under tension. Like, if they're under tension for 40 seconds in a row, that forces adaptation to happen. That's going to force growth of muscle tissue, and that's going to force endurance to happen, which means your mitochondria are getting loaded up in your muscle tissue. And the more mitochondria you have, per muscle tissue, the greater efficiency you have in that muscle, the stronger you're going to be, the more youthful your body's going to be essentially. About number 2, prioritize form, or I should say prioritize injury-free lifting over just lifting weights. Keeping great posture and focusing on the movement pattern and the muscles you want to engage during a movement. This is huge. I mean, this can be a total game changer. And this can go a long ways in decreasing your risk of injury and the likelihood that you're sitting on the sidelines wishing you could do stuff when everybody else is doing stuff because you hurt your back, hurt your knee, hurt your shoulder, something like that. And it greatly increases overall fitness efficiency when we're working out like this. So say, for example, you're doing a deadlift and the next day your lower back is really, really sore, but your glutes and your hamstrings are not. Well, that would be a cardinal sign, a telltale sign, shall we, that you are not focusing on your movement pattern, that you are not activating the muscles that should be activating when you're performing the deadlift movement, because your back is sore. And that means, you're using your back to lift the weights as opposed to these big old strong glutes and hamstrings to pull that weight off the floor. You can be convinced that your movement is subpar and your chance of injury, in the future, may not get injured that time, but your chance of injury in the future is really high. I often talk about going to failure in your movements, which is a fabulous idea. But, going to failure does not mean that we keep on slogging the weight off the ground or, doing these squirrely squats, that kind of stuff. Increasing our risk of injury. No, going to failure, when your form starts to decrease, you want to have already stopped. You don't want to be performing a movement, an exercise movement, when your form is not correct, when your form is subpar. It doesn't mean you need to be like scared, am I doing my form right, and paralyzed, because that's a lot of us are in a state of paralysis when it comes to getting fit, because there's so many people telling us so many different things. But it does mean that, okay, if you're starting out, you're not sure what to do, I would highly recommend just asking somebody. Use lighter weight. Using lightweight when you start out so you can get the form down, and then you'll progress to a heavier weight and you'll still have great form and you'll get great results, and you won't be getting injured. So I will say generally for nearly every movement that involves weights, we want the top of our head, this part right here, to be in a direct line with the top of our hips. And if that's happening, whether it's a squat, it's a deadlift, thrusters, even like a bench press, the top of our head with the top of our hips, there's no rounding of our shoulders, no rounding of our lower back, no rounding of our thoracic, or no head going down, head going back, none of that happening, then you can be sure that, you're probably in reasonable form. Whenever that rounding starts happening, you're putting your body in a compromised position, and you need to decrease the weights so that you can do the movement more efficiently and decrease your potential for injury. Okay, number 3, perform full range of motion movements. So if you're squatting, squat all the way until your hamstrings, that part of your upper leg on the back of your leg, basically comes into contact with your calves. And then stand yourself up until your knees and hips are over the top of each other and locked out. And then go back into the movement again. Or see, if you're performing lunges, take your back knee all the way to the ground. Don't just stop in the middle and get back up. The more you perform full range of motion movements, the less likely you're going to injure yourself, and the less weight you're going to have to use to perform the movements. You're showing your body that, hey, we can go through this full range of motion with weight on us, or using just our body weight, in a structured environment. That way, when you get into an unstructured environment, like you got to grab a kid, you got to pick up a bag, your body has already done these full ranges of motion, and it won't, your chance of getting injured or hurting yourself are much, much less likely. So say you're doing a push-up, and go all the way chest to the ground and push yourself all the way back up until your elbows are locked out. Training this way, though yes, you're going to do less reps. Yes, you might have to do push-ups on your knees, but training this way, you're literally building flexibility, you're lubricating your joints in the process, and you're maintaining youthfulness in your body because the mobility of all your joints is going to stay. Whatever motion we put in our body will continue doing that motion. Now, if you want to create resilience for whatever life is going to bring your way, then you want to do full range of motion activities. Number 4, keep a log of what you're doing and make sure that you're either increasing the repetitions, the sets, the distance, the weight you're using, or potentially the intensity you're going at the particular activity. This is essential to ensure that we're continuously adapting. Because if we're not basically journaling or writing down or knowing what we've done, then it's challenging to know what our next step should be, and that we're improving. Our body is amazing at creating efficiency and figuring out how to do the most with the least amount of effort. The problem with that is if we do the exact same thing today and the exact same thing in a month from now, and we've been working out between, the calories we burn, the adaptation that happened today is going to be like 100% less than the adaptation and the calories we burn a month from now. And we're going to get, half the benefit of the workout. We want to write down what we're doing. We want to have time under tension. We want to do full range of motion in our movements. And we can expect that our body is going to get stronger, it's going to get fitter, and we're going to be more capable to combat whatever shows up in life. Who doesn't want that, right? All right, so I'm Dr. Matt. I hope this is helpful. Hope this spurs you on to get after your fitness experience. And if I have these 4 things lined up, then guess what? I'm going to get results. No matter what routine I'm choosing, I'm going to get results if these things are lined up. And yes, maybe even your 6-pack will come up faster. That external validation. But being able to show up in the moment with a fully capable body, that's really where the magic's at. That's why we're doing this. And in the end, that's what we want to prioritize. Time under tension, excellent form over, ego, full range of motion, and, writing down what we're doing so we can see our progress over time. Talk to you guys later.